But look at this. I want to show you a neighborhood I'm familiar with in Toronto because it's near where I actually live. It's a boring residential neighborhood. The U.S. Embassy, the Israeli Embassy, any corporate headquarters for anything, they're a million miles away. This is a neighborhood of sleepy homes and schools and houses of worship. But there's one thing about this neighborhood. It's very Jewish. And so these pro-Hamas protesters have chosen this residential neighborhood packed with Jews, Jewish schools, Jewish synagogues, Jewish school buses and they go on Saturday. So it's their favorite day to go. They go when the Jews are going to Sabbath, and they block a key road. It's such a big road. It's actually, I knew its name before I even moved to Toronto. It's called Avenue Road. It's one of the major roads in Toronto. People even outside Toronto probably heard of Yonge Street. They might have heard of Eglinton. These are like the big roads. Like in Calgary, it would be like Deerfoot Trail or McLeod Trail. In Vancouver, we've all heard of Granville. This is a major road, and they shut down a bridge over the 401 highway, hanging their banners down, stopping. But the main thing is they block the bridge that brings people in and out of this Jewish neighborhood. And they're doing it on the Sabbath, and they're blocking the road. And the police have attended. But look what the police say. Let me just read to you a tweet. This is from just yesterday. Due to public safety concerns, the Avenue Road Bridge will be closed. There will be no access to Avenue Road from Highway 401. Police are on scene to enforce this in order to keep demonstrators, counter-demonstrators, and passing traffic safe. Stay tuned for reopening details. So let me say that again. The police are declaring that this is dangerous. They're saying that the first words, it's a public safety issue. But they are going, so instead of clearing away the lawbreakers, and by the way, there's a variety of laws. People, besides just the threats, besides the threats of assault, you're blocking a road, you're blocking a major artery. The police will actually, let me translate, the police will enforce the blockade. They're blockading a Jewish neighborhood. And it's not the Hamas thugs that'll stop you, it's the cops. The Toronto police, go ahead.
Oh, it is astonishing, Ezra. But by the way, I used to live once upon a time in that neighborhood on Melrose Avenue. I know very well what the neighborhood is like. This was unthinkable, at least in the time I was living there. But, Ezra, I want to get to the point of who these people are. As you mentioned, a lot of them are foreign nationals. That's undeniable. But I also see, just people that were born and bred in Canada. They're neither Arab or Jewish. And I think what we're seeing the end result of is what's happening on campus with the wokeness there, Ezra. I call it the I and I. These people are ignorant and they're indoctrinated. And of course, what better candidate to indoctrinate than somebody who is ignorant? They have no idea of the history of the Middle East. Instead, it seems to be the lens that they look at this problem through, Ezra, is Israel is the colonizer, the Palestinians are the colonized, they're taking part in some great Che Guevara revolution. By the way, these dumbbells should research who Che Guevara was. But what is your take on that, Ezra? The fact that there are people that are coming out of prestigious universities all over the world that are full of anti-Israel bile.
Oh, yeah. Well, we saw that president of Harvard herself had to resign in disgrace for not clearly saying calls for genocide against Jews are wrong. She said, I think she said something like, we have to wait until they're acted upon, or something like that. It was really crazy. But understand her mindset. And this is how she was appointed president. She is a woman of very little accomplishment academically. In fact, that's what, in the end, caused her to step down. She was a cheater. She plagiarized. She stole other people's work. But the lens through which she looked at the whole world was oppressed and oppressors. And she would put everyone in that category. And that's a Marxist way of thinking. Karl Marx did it economically. You have the economic oppressed and the economic oppressors, labor versus capital, the working classes versus the bosses. And every single person was put into one of two categories and was either a friend or an enemy. That was a terrible ideology of jealousy and hatred and destruction and envy and violence. But the innovation of the last 100 years, especially the last 30, has been to take that Marxist way of thinking and apply it to gender. Women and men. Men are the oppressors in the patriarchy, women are victims. And then apply it to race. Visible minorities, by definition, are the oppressed. Whites are the oppressors. Oh, by the way, and some visible minorities who do well are the oppressors also. And they have a white supremacy, even if they're black, like they would call Clarence Thomas, the black Supreme Court Justice. They would call him a white supremacist because he's internalized. Like it's such a, and now they have transgenderism all through that critical theory. That's what they call it. So for a generation, we've been teaching critical theory instead of critical thinking. And you're right about, and so they've deemed Israel to be the oppressor, so everything's justified against. But I wanted to play for you a clip of what's going on that Avenue Road bridge. Because you have, I think 95% of the Hamas protesters are foreigners. They're speaking with a thick foreign accent. They're dressed like Hamas people would be dressed in Gaza. And they're clearly there because it's a Jewish neighborhood. There's no Israeli industry or Israeli embassy. And I want you to listen to this guy talking about how many Zionists there are, because that's his code for Jews. Listen to this guy just for a second.
We will turn to our Creator anywhere in this world to offer our prayers like we do. And now Zionists think that this means peace, they think. There is no peace with your oppressors. This means victory. There is only victory against your oppressors and victory with your occupiers. This does not mean peace because there is no peace against an occupation. And when they cry about seeing a sign with Hitler on it with Bennett, that is their problem, that their leaders are calling for genocide. Because Zionism is when their leaders are calling for the elimination of Palestinian people in Gaza. They're no better than Hitler. They're no better than the Nazis, who thought they were also a superior race. Zionists think they're superior than anybody else.
So they're there because they hate the Jews, but get a load of these folks saying that the Jews should go back to Poland or whatever. So these are people who are just off the plane. Many of them, I imagine, aren't even Canadian citizens yet. We let them into Canada, weeks ago, months ago, and they're walking around a Jewish neighborhood, vomiting rage and hate, and telling Canadian Jews who have lived in this country since before Confederation to get out. You've just got to listen to this absolute insanity. Take a listen.
Back to your fucking countries where you came from and leave our countries alone and stop blowing up our fucking homes and stealing our land.
Ask them to go back to Europe.
Yeah. Go back to Poland, go back to Russia, go back to Ukraine.
To me, there's something crazy about someone with a thick foreign accent saying, get out of this country and go home. It's just insane, but they're getting away with it, and the cops are enforcing it. I want to show you one more clip. I know I've shown you a lot of clips. Here's one of the organizers. Again, a thug who's a regular. My hunch is that he's an agent of the Iranian government. There's 700 Iranian agents in Canada, according to Global News, and they're basically whipping up a lot of these pro-Hamas protests. And this guy admits it. He drops any pretense. He says, we're going to go to where the Jews are. We're going to go to your Jewish events. We're going to go to your Jewish parades. Listen to this guy basically say, wherever Jews are in Toronto, he will be there shouting at them in a megaphone. So not wherever Israelis are or military people. He's going to pick on, humiliate, and hate, and hopefully shut down the roads of any Jews. In Toronto, we have a pure bigot on our hands. Take a look.
We are never going to shy away from coming into any neighborhood who experiences anti-Palestinian racism, inshallah. Always. Whether it's the walk against Israel, we will be there. At the walk against Israel, they will see us there. All of you here today, make intention that you will be present at the walk against Israel, because that is where you see anti-Palestinian racism at its finest. We will never, as we are standing here today, we will never shy away from exposing this filth. Never.
So, by the way, I'm not saying someone should be jailed for hating. Hating is a feeling. I don't think you should be jailed for hating, for any feeling. I think you should be arrested or swept off the road if you're blocking a key road, if you're blocking a road for school buses to Jewish schools, if you're deliberately blocking. I mean, it would be like if the KKK decided to have a big march in Harlem, in New York, or more traditionally black neighborhood on Sunday and block roads to black churches. And imagine if the police show up and say, guys, it's too dangerous with all these Klansmen around, so we're going to shut down church today just for public safety. That is what the disgraceful, discreditable, unethical, unprofessional police in Toronto are doing again and again and again. And they found their favorite place, I guess, the malls where they were going, threatened them with trespass orders eventually or something. So these bigots and their police escorts are shutting down the Jewish neighborhoods. I can't even believe it.